or someone would ask me the other day, she's like, what are you going to do when you actually find someone really similar to you? Would you get along? I was like, gosh, no way.
Hi everyone, welcome back. Welcome back. It's been a hot minute with the shower thoughts. So just a bit of housekeeping. We're actually sort of slowing down over the Christmas break, and we'll be releasing one episode a week instead of our regular 2 to 3.
We've got
So
heaps of good stuff in the works, all ready to go for the new year. I think we've got almost the first month and a half covered.
yeah,
We're
we
just
got some
yeah,
solid content. Make sure your ears are ready to be excited and your mind to be even more excited.
I wouldn't call it a Christmas break. I call it a little Christmas hiatus, getting ready for next year.
100%. And
Exciting stuff.
yeah, with that, I'll lead you all to the question I have for Sam today. So Sam, how do you learn?
How do I learn? Man,
Mm-hmm.
this is like one of the most complex questions. And you want me to unbreak it in between 10 to 15 minutes?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
Tough challenge. We'll give it our best. I mean, learning is so complicated. Everyone learns so differently. To start off with, I think school does a terrible job of teaching people how to learn.
Yeah, you
I
reckon?
think I think it's far too concrete in its ways and unwavering, and it doesn't change or chop depending on any individual. It just gives everyone a set standard of which you should be able to complete. And I would say very, very small percentage of people actually learn that way.
Mm.
Like, I know for me, I sat in school, didn't, when I was in class, so yeah, I kind of listened and stuff, but I struggled so much doing any work in class. I did everything at home because it kind of only really made sense when I could sit there and do it by myself. And I
Yeah.
was
Do you think schools have
distracting
the
everyone else. And
do you
huh?
think schools have the because you know how there's a few different sort of learning methods. I just remember in school there's different ways people learn, like creative learners or like visual learners. Do you think schools sort of need to cater more to that, or just allow kids to learn, have a few different ways to learn?
I mean, it's really hard because if you give them enough leeway to decide how they're going to learn, they might just take that power and abuse it and do nothing. But the
Yeah.
thing is, some of them might actually use that really well and go away and learn what they want to learn. But the thing is, that might not look very good in terms of who's actually paying the school fees eyes. You know, parents want their kids to
Mm,
go there to secure their future, not to go there and chase all these different interesting things that they might love to do, but their parents might look at them and be like, man, I'm paying these huge school bills, not for you to go and bloody, you know, watch
to
skateboarding videos all
learn
the
at
time
the
at school.
library. I can only learn at Macca's.
Yeah. So, it's a tricky one. And I think that we're certainly not going to be able to unpack that one in 10 to 15 minutes.
No.
But in terms of learning, it's so diverse, and it needs to be catered to everyone. Everyone's got to figure out what works for them, because
Mm,
some people might look at the way I do things and be like, you're an idiot. No way. Like, there's no chance in the world that would ever work for me. But I can look at what other people do and I'd be like, are you kidding me? Like, that would bore me in 30 minutes.
yeah.
So look, for me, I'm definitely a trial and error type person. Give me a go. Like, let me get out there, get my hands dirty, you know, sweat it out a little bit, kind of figure out how everything kind of feels and responds. And I guess my classic thing is kind of plan, execute, reflect, plan, execute, and just keep on repeating that cycle. And I mean, you'll learn so much just from getting out there and doing it, figuring out what went wrong, what went great. You can start to do all the bits that went really good, leave all the
Mm,
bits that went terribly. And all of a sudden you keep refining that process over and over again. Then you eventually weed out the parts that were terrible, and then you bring in all the parts that were good. But I think the crucial part is, though, for me, is that I figured it out myself. I know why it was bad, and I can see why it wasn't helping me learn, and I can see why the good parts were helping me learn. So then I
mm.
can actually understand the process instead of just being told, this is the process, this is what works best. I'm like, okay, cool, I'll give it a go, but I don't know why it works.
You
I
just
just
know it
know that it does a
works.
pretty good job, but it kind of, I feel like it needs to make sense to me.
Yeah. And so with the plan, execute, and reflect, I know a lot of people, when they plan, they can really snowball and end up planning forever essentially before executing. So when I when you plan, is it you just plan like in a day and then execute? Do you have a goal like that, or?
Man, it'll really depend. And like this is one of those things like in the early term, in the beginning, when like let's use running for an example.
Mm,
Like when I was learning about running in the early days, I planned bloody everything. Everything was on pen and paper. It was like, okay, scheduling workouts, like recovery, like, load management and all those fun, like, I guess more mathematical, calculating side of things in terms of how much can the body handle? How much time does it need? How much nutrition is going to be able to support that workload? And then, man, there's very little application of all this planning. It's all great theory.
yeah.
But then as it starts to get to the point, you start doing a bit more, you're like, oh yeah, this is all good and all. But then one of the things I've learned is you got to keep it simple, stupid. You got to find something that works and it's to fit in with life. And all the planning that isn't going to get you there. It's actually kind of eventually getting into the actioning part of it. But the thing is, for me in the early days, I find a lot of it is planning and kind of figuring out like kind of what my brain seems to think about it and what might work well, what might not work well. And then I feel like if I can plan a lot first, then everything seems to make a lot more sense before I get there. And I have a good direction as opposed to just getting, trying to become really good at something, getting there with no direction, and then being like, okay, where to from here? At least if I've spent my good portion planning, I've got a few little directions I can go down. Okay, I got to here. This has gone pretty well. I'll go there.
Yeah.
That stuffed up terribly. That was, let's say for running, that was way too much. Let's drop it back a little bit. I've got that in my plan. So like the better I get at something, the less the planning seems to become. It becomes much, much more automatic.
Yeah. And I guess a really good thing with the planning is that reflecting. That reflecting is so, so important. And it's definitely one thing that I probably don't do as much as I should. But that reflecting allows you to look back at your plan, see what went wrong, and make the necessary changes to avoid those mistakes in the future. And
Yeah.
that's the crux of learning, like avoiding those mistakes and continuing. So
I mean, I might be harsh in this sense, but if you're doing anything, I think you have the capacity to do it better. And that excites me. That gives me the energy to get going and keep putting in, some hours when I'd rather be doing something else. But, you can like, I'll use the running example again. I'll reflect on majority of my runs after. Obviously, it was much, much more in the beginning when I was learning a lot more about, technique, load management stuff, and just all how my brain was feeling in general. But as you start to get more, you get a bit better at reflecting. But the thing is, like, if like with the running, I'd be an absolute idiot if I went out and kept doing the same thing and I kept having the same problems.
yeah,
But I keep seeing that same pattern happening in other people. And it's not that hard to take 5 minutes after you've done something that went varying levels of success, find out why you didn't go as best as you feel like you could have, figure that out, and then next time you'll at least have thought about it. You're not kind of guessing like, oh, I felt kind of shit today. Oh.
yeah,
And then the next week you feel, no, I felt equally as bad. Week after you're like, why am I getting better at this? Because you're not trying to learn. You're not taking the active steps to actually trying to figure out what's going wrong. Anyway, I won't get too worked up about this.
it reminds me of that movie Groundhog Day, or that other Tom Cruise movie where he just keeps going, dying. Day starts again, dying. Day starts again, and you need to do something different to not die, essentially.
Yeah.
One of the things that I find really helps me to learn is actually teaching people. Do you find this in yourself?
100%. I find that that's one of the best ways of consolidating, simplifying, and like I think I just combined simplify and clarify into one word, but simplify and clarify in my own head what I actually think about something. And to have the capacity to teach someone means you're teaching yourself at the same time. You just kind of, and you also get that learner's perspective. you get them looking at something like this is a fresh idea, and you get something there's so much to take away from anyone's perspective on an idea.
Yeah.
You know,
And you get
like
like
it's
these,
a
they give you these questions that you're like, oh, hang on, that is a really good question. I might or may not know the answer to that, but I'll be back with the answer to that.
exactly. I guess a good little bumper sticker that I like with this one is presume that someone knows something that you don't, no matter who they are. They could be an expert in the field. Obviously, they can know more than you. They could be someone who has no idea about anything. But the thing is, they're always going to have something. It might be a different perspective or a different opinion, or just the concept of not knowing something and asking questions, exactly like you said. I think talking to someone about anything, going with the idea that you're open to them teaching you something too, no matter how smart you are in that area.
Mm.
And then that's where I think being able to teach other people just gives you that capacity to have like your piece of information kind of warped and molded and changed a little bit to be able to be understood better by other people. And I
Yeah.
think that, and in turn, you understand it better yourself.
Yeah. All right. I got a little scenario. Let's do a bit of practical work so people can see how Sam learns. All right. Say I wanted you to learn, I asked you to teach me in 7 days about why mammals give birth inside them, or why mammals like don't lay eggs. So how would
Okay.
you, what would be the process of execution to
So
learn
process
that?
of execution, I would first of all, I'm going straight to documentaries. David Attenborough, Life on Planet Life, 1, 2, probably even Blue Planet in there too. I don't know how many eggs are laid in the sea, but I think you get what I'm trying to say. I would find as much content information as I can, because
Mm.
that way, number one, I enjoy that. That's easy. This is all part of my planning. This is me figuring out like, okay, what defines a mammal? What kind of eggs am I having to try and figure out here? Oh, I don't even know.
I think
Hey,
mammals don't
they don't
even
lay
lay
eggs, do
eggs.
they? And like we are essentially a bit more just information on the topic. So that way I can start, okay, cool. I don't know much about this. That part was interesting. I kind of get it. There's whole bunches in the middle that actually even David Attenborough couldn't explain. So okay, then I've got a bit more information. Okay, I understand this. I'm going to go away, research it all. You can find all this amazing stuff on the internet. And if I couldn't do that, I'm feeling energetic, I'll go to the library, get something like, the mammalian uh, anatomy book of something,
The book on
and then
mammal.
just sieve my way through it and learn as much about mammals as I can. But I'll be able to find out the information that I didn't know because I took a bit of time kind of simming through what I didn't understand first. And then I'll be able to kind of summarize it, come back and look, these are the main bits. I'm not going to tell you the whole process that I've been through to be able to teach you why a mammal does not lay an egg, but here are the main points. And be like, okay. And then, I mean, if I'm really getting you to learn it, I'd be like, okay, cool. So why I make it apply it a bit too. Like, okay,
Mm.
so well, if a mammal was in this environment, what would it do? If all of a sudden a lion popped, a female lion popped out an egg. Like, is there any particular reason why that could have happened? And then, and then just kind of, at least you've had a little bit of brainstorming, some fun with it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's good. There was just one thing. What about asking someone?
I guess I have a direct phone line with David Attenborough. I've watched him that many times. I
Yo,
don't really need to
Dave.
call someone when I've memorized all of his teachings.
That's a very good answer. And I can
But no.
confirm that this man knows his teachings.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a fanboy, bit of a man crush there. But yeah, and that'll be another really good thing too. I mean, I don't really know many people that are mammalian experts and would
Mm.
be able to, I don't know if you're dinosaur experts, but I don't know enough people to confidently ask them for their opinion without it being weird.
Can you
And
imagine
I just,
popping up to one of the boys? Hey, so man, I've just been pondering, why does a mammal not lay eggs? They'd be like, fuck, what? You're a mammal. You're an egg.
Did you lay an egg?
I guess in that situation, like it's another thing about learning. Sometimes it's good to go to the expert. So I don't know if you would do it, but like calling the
I
zoo
could call a
people,
zookeeper,
zookeeper.
but Google's pretty good. Like I don't really feel the need to go that far. I get the thing. I reckon in about a minute I could give you a pretty good answer in terms of
Yeah,
why mammals don't lay eggs. I could make one up on the spot, I reckon, and I'd be able to convince you that is right.
no, that's fair enough. Google, man, that's the source of everything. Hey, I don't know how people did things without Google. Like, can you imagine doing an essay assignment back in the day and having to borrow books from the library?
You
Nah.
want an interesting story actually. Throughout the whole of my HSC, we only ever in the family we ever had this kind of one like a crappy old laptop mum would use for work. I
Mm,
handwritten everything. Everything was handwritten. Like I wouldn't
jeez.
really type anything up, like unless it was like a presentation where I had to do it on the computer. Fire up Windows, wait about an hour for that thing to cool up, and then the fans are buzzing the whole time. It's like Microsoft Word something. It's like kind of finger typing the whole time. And then it got to the point I was that crap at writing on the keyboard stuff. I would have to just write everything in by hand, and then get my mum to help. She's like my scribe for the keyboard because she was much much faster typing than I was. And then same thing happened through uni, except we got a better desktop which I would use every once in a while. I kind of handed something in handwriting. It was like handwriting.
You actually?
Yeah, you're from the Stone Age, and I was like, oh gosh. So I had to start doing everything by computer. I got much better at typing, and I got my first laptop in my last year of uni when I didn't have to do any more like real assignments or stuff. It was all placement. Anyway, it's a fun little story, but I think that's another way of I guess it's molded how I learn. I guess I've told everyone like it's very much trial and error and plan and reflect and figure out what you did better, we didn't do very well. But there's also a lot of grind work in there too. Like I am, if I'm learning something that's knowledge based or like content or information based, I can grind away for hours and hours just like memorizing these things over and over. Like that was how I did school. Like I would just do things over and over and over and over and over again until I didn't forget it.
Yeah.
And then I guess that is one little thing that led me into it. Like I'd have the same essays written out on paper, 3, 4, 5 times in a row. Yeah, it was just,
Rote learning.
rote learning. It worked though.
Yeah,
Got me here.
it did.
Yeah,
Well, mate.
there's definitely hours that need to be put into learning. Like it's not
Oh,
just I guess we might make it sound like it's a pretty simple, straightforward process, but like if you're really committed to learning something, like it's going to take some time, it's going to take some energy, and I think it should be something that you care about, because otherwise you're not going to have the passion to keep on learning it. Otherwise
yeah.
you find that one thing and then you realize how much more there is to learn, be like, ah, stuff it. But if you're passionate about it, you'll see all this, it's like the more you learn, the more you realize that you don't know. And if you kind of get there, you're like, oh, I care deeply about this thing. I can't wait to figure out what I don't know. It can be one of the most exciting things, but also the most defeating things if you don't actually care about what you're learning.
Yeah, I was gonna say that passion is a secret 7 herbs and spices to learning, I reckon.
No, I agree. But yeah, that's the tricky part.
Mm.
I don't think learning's too easy. Finding what you want to learn about, I think is a harder task.
Yeah, and then once you find how you learn, you can sort of replicate that and essentially start learning a lot quicker and a lot more, I guess, retaining more information. But
Mm.
mate, you've done a good job answering that one. A few things to come off here,
I think we
and
took a little bit longer there, but that's okay.
yeah, I know it's our Christmas special. Uh,
Yeah, exactly.
so,
the uh, the the gift of information
the gift of
given
information.
by two idiots fumbling their way through life.
Mate, you're an idiot. I'm not an idiot. Well,
Yeah,
thank you
I'm
all for
happy.
listening in. And yeah, as I said before, we'll be sort of slowing down over this Christmas break. So very keen to see you all at the beginning of next year. In the meantime, we would love for you to reach out with any shower thoughts you have, or even just any sort of feedback, just so we can continue to learn, so we continue to plan, execute, and reflect. So
So
yeah, feel free.
got a big year coming,
Big year.
2021, the 4 a.m. club. Everyone will be waking up 4 a.m. Watch out.
Whoa. And actually, too, on that, I think we actually reach a half marathon potentially on the first week of the year.
Hey, that's pretty good.
That's
That's a nice little milestone.
yeah. All right.
And we're there together actually. There we go.
January? Yeah.
Yeah,
Wait. Yeah.
I'll be there. All right. Awesome. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. And we'll catch up with you all soon.
We'll see you soon.